On today's Locked On Angels, let's ponder this question. Did Shohei Ohtani change the game of baseball as we know it? Let's talk about it right now on Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Locked On Angels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day every single day. We post Angels content right now in the offseason 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And in today's episode, we're going to discuss this. Did Shohei Ohtani change the game of baseball as we know it? So we're going to examine this in a couple of ways. First, I want to take you through a historical context of what Shohei's 2021 season was like, where it lies amongst some of the greatest seasons of all time. Then we're going to talk about the immediate impact and what it's changing right now, how it compares to high school ball, college ball, and baseball throughout the United States. And of course, then we're going to talk about the long-term impacts, where this could be going, where Shohei could be going, and give you our final thoughts. So let's start with the historical context. Let's do that right now. I'm going to take this from Baseball Prospectus. So again, we were talking about Shohei's 2021 season and the impact that it's going to have for the game moving forward. So this is again coming from Baseball Prospectus. I will leave a link to this article in the episode description if you want to read more about it. They say, in examining the historical precedent for getting this much playing time, it turns out that the answer is quite simple. There really isn't any. A simple way to view Ohtani's exertion is to total up his plate appearances as a hitter and his innings pitched as a pitcher. The sum of these two numbers is a rough measure of his two-way labors and can be compared to almost the entire stretch of Major League history. So the amount of time that Shohei played in 2021 ended up being 639 plate appearances and 130.1 innings pitched. So that's where we're starting at. That's the baseline for Shohei. I'm going to show a graph right here on our YouTube side, and of course on our audio side, I'll go ahead and explain it. But this graph right here is comparing some of the big seasons of two-way players, their innings pitched versus their plate appearances. A guy with a ton of innings pitched here on this chart is Ed Walsh. Ed Walsh is one of the guys that really put forth the spitball, weirdly enough. Has nothing to do with this, but just a little fun fact. But pitched nearly 500 innings in 1908, which is just absolutely incredible, but ended up finishing shy of 200 plate appearances. That's like the anomaly of the anomaly. Baseball is not played that way anymore, obviously. But the closest thing, obviously, and the comparison that he always draws is Babe Ruth, right? The 1919 Babe Ruth season is really the only season in which Babe Ruth pitched and hit at the same time and tried to do both at the same time. And he is still not near where Shohei was at as far as just getting on the field. So Babe Ruth, over 100 innings pitched, or close to 150, and then around 550 on the plate appearances. So that is still not near where Shohei was. Again, that's 639 plate appearances and 130.1 innings pitched. So that is not even factoring in how those plate appearances and how those innings went for Shohei, right? So let's again talk about Babe Ruth's 1919. This is still from Baseball Perspective. Babe Ruth's 1919 stands out because he has the most combined innings pitched and plate appearances of anyone so far that was entering this season. 542 plate appearances and 133 innings. Ohtani is on track to match his innings total and exceed his time at bat by a cool 100 plate appearances. And again, this was written just before, so we know that that is true. He just finished 3 innings shy and had just shy of 100 more plate appearances. That continues to say, though Ruth is famous as a two-way star, for the most part, he was either a pitcher or a hitter and rarely both simultaneously. In the first half of his career, he was primarily a pitcher, and the second, mostly a hitter. He started only 5 games after 1919, and this is the reason. That 19 season is one of the only times he tried to do what Ohtani is accomplishing now, and immediately afterward, Ruth abandoned his attempt, saying, "It's too hard on the arm to play every day and then take your turn in the box. I found that I was never effective that way." So Ruth's 1919 season is probably the most comparable thing we have to Shohei's 2021. So over 100 years later. So baseball has changed a lot in that time. So these numbers are kind of hard to go one-to-one comparison. But just for the sake of argument, Ruth in 1919 drove in 113 runs while batting .322. Pitching was way different. The game was way different, right? So there is obviously that caveat. Ruth ended up hitting 29 bombs in 1919. Of course, once he left pitching and just said, "I'm going to start hitting," the numbers skyrocketed for him. And once he started focusing on hitting, there was clearly no looking back. 54 homers. This is the season later. And the season after that, 1921, 59 bombs. On the pitching side in that 1919 season, Ruth, that whip was really high, walks and hits per innings pitched, over 1.5. That's really high. And he only struck out 30 batters. Very strange. But again, completely different game. He was not a strikeout guy. He had a lot of base runners to deal with, but he definitely pitched more to contact in 1919. So obviously Babe had success in 1919 on both sides of the field. But by today's standards, Shohei's 2021 just completely blows those numbers out of the water. The only player that I have in my brain that compares to a guy like Shohei as far as impact on the way the game is played is Martin Dihigo. You might not know this one. Martin Dihigo played all 9 positions. He was a Negro Leagues player. He was a Cuban. And he is truly one of the greatest players that you've probably never heard of. He was a great bat, and he definitely didn't pitch as much. So again, he played all 9 positions. He definitely didn't pitch as much as Shohei or the Babe. And he definitely, as far as my mind is considered, it's a different style of play that he was doing, right? He was trying to do it all, quite literally trying to do everything. His best season of the plate was in 1926 with the Cuban Stars, but he only pitched in 35 innings. Now that, again, does come with a caveat because the Negro Leagues played differently than the white major leagues, especially at this time. At the plate, Dihigo was incredible for the Cuban Stars, 1.212 OPS, so over 1,000 on the OPS in just 43 games. He did bat 375. However, that was his best season in 1926. But again, the nature of the Negro Leagues were just much different. They played around 50 to 80 games based on their barnstorming tours. But the numbers on Baseball Reference say if he had played 162 games, he was averaging around 200 innings during this era. So if you're looking for direct comparisons to Shohei throughout baseball history, obviously the 1919 season for Babe Ruth is really all we have. Dihigo was incredible, but he wasn't trying to do what Shohei was doing. He was obviously playing more in the field. He was a great catcher. He was a good outfielder. He did a lot more things on the diamond. But Shohei, we know this, but when you look at it historically, we definitely know it now. Completely different style of play, and we'll see if he can continue that past 2021. This episode is brought to you by Built Bar. It's the New Year, so that's New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good. You'll actually want to eat it, unlike those other protein bars. You want to eat healthy, but it just gets so boring. By the 3rd week of January, you're already thinking, ugh, this isn't worth it. I just want chocolate. Well, Built Bar's got chocolate in it as well. And of course, they got only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Even if you're not a huge fan of working out, you can at least eat something that tastes good and is good for you. That way, when you enjoy a delicious Built Bar, you can almost count it as a workout. Of course, there's a bunch of different flavors you can choose from, and go look at them right now at Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15 while you're there for 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Back here on Locked On Angels, we're going to talk a little bit about the immediate impact that Shohei has had here on the baseball landscape. And I just want to talk about the evolution of the two-way player. So the magic of a two-way player is not new, right? This is not a unique situation. This is only unique because of the caliber it was played at and in the league that it was played at. It might feel new to us as baseball fans because we didn't get a chance to see this in the early 1900s. Again, they weren't doing it the same way. Not everybody was playing it. It was still kind of this magical thing, right? That people were intrigued by, like we were in 2021. High school baseball 100% still has the two-way player. It is still all over the place. So the game, I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have at the lower levels, the way Shohei has played, but I think Shohei's impact is going to be a little bit more at the higher levels of baseball itself. College ball still has some two-way playing. It definitely dwindles out a little bit. By the time you get to the minors, it's basically 99% eradicated, and then by the time you get to the majors, it's over, right? You get Michael Lorenzen, you get Shohei Ohtani. and not much after that, right? Because the game just keeps getting harder and harder and harder. So guys have to start focusing on developing a certain set of tools, and they're not allowed to develop all their tools so they can be successful on both sides of the diamond, which is why you're not seeing two-way players once you get to the majors again. You see it in high school ball all the time. So when we ask the question, did Shohei change the game? It might still be a little too early to answer that question. Yes, it's been a couple of months since the 2021 season ended. It was the first time we really got to see Shohei shine in a full season capacity on both sides of the field, right? So it still might be a little too early to tell, but the impact that he's had is definitely already being felt. If you remember back in October, Red Sox outfielder Alex Verdugo already expressed interest in becoming a two-way player. He pitched in high school, and he has said that he topped out at 97, which is really darn good for high school ball. And it's, again, let's talk about high school a little bit more here, but some kids are good enough at the high school level on both sides of the ball. And I know that varies because of strength of leagues throughout the country, is definitely not 1-to-1. But there are definitely kids that are talented enough at the high school level to be able to play on both sides of the ball. That way, when they get their college offers, a lot of times they have to make a decision. Most times, almost all the time, they have to make a decision on what one they're going to do. And it's a hard decision for a lot of those players because, hey, I'm having success here. I've had success for the last 4 years. I'm striking everybody out and I'm hitting, 10 home runs a season or whatever it is, that it is hard for some of these kids to make a choice, but they end up having to. And I think that's, if there is an impact throughout the entire scope of baseball, this is where it's going to have that impact. And that's why I think it's a little too early to tell if he's going to have changed the game forever, right? Because these players are going to be seasoned now for the next 8 years or so. Your high school seniors right now, graduates of 2022, who are playing two-way baseball right now and going into college going like, well, hey, coach, I can play two-way baseball. Let me try it at the NCAA level. Let me try it in the minors. And that eventually leads into the majors, right? So I imagine we're going to start seeing more two-way players at least a little bit longer. I'd imagine in college ball, we're going to start seeing it a little bit more because we just need to know if anybody else can do this. Because you got to remember, this is an extremely difficult thing to do for a long time, that's what makes Shohei insane, right? That's what makes it such an anomaly, is that this is extremely hard to do, let alone to do at the highest level. Again, high school ball, different, completely different, right? Competition level is completely different. There's definitely great college and high school baseball played throughout the country, but it's definitely not as strong or as even keeled as it is at the major league level. So Ohtani in 2021 may be the only time we ever see something like we saw. We don't even know if Shohei can continue that in 2022 at the major league level. It's just, there's so many factors at play when you get into two-way playing, right? It's hard enough to play on one side of the ball and be good and stay in the major leagues. If you put every single major leaguer that has ever appeared at the major league level into a stadium, you wouldn't even sell out Angel Stadium, which is insane. So there is no guarantee that we see two-way success again, even from Shohei. But I would say, again, that the impact is already going to be felt a little bit, maybe not in the majors right away, but as kids continue to grow up, they see success that Shohei had in 2021. If he has it in 2022, if he keeps being successful, then there's really no telling how far this thing can go. This episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all the sports wagering action for 2022 new year, and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON to get started. Football, basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC, baseball when it comes back, all the way to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Back here on Locked On Angels, your first listen of the day. I wanted to give you some of my final thoughts here on Shohei and his impact on the game of baseball itself. So it's really hard for me still. I know it's been a couple of months, but it's still really hard for me right now to wrap my brain around what happened in 2021. I think I still need it to marinate a little bit more. I think it needs to marinate for all of us to really understand, again, what the impact is going to be on the game itself. Because there came a point in the 2021 season, I'm curious if you had this feeling as well. There came a point where I wasn't surprised anymore. It's I don't know if that's just a cultural thing now that we see something happen a couple of times and then, it dwindles down and waters down a little bit as time goes on. So there again was a point in the 2021 season where I was like, that's just Shohei, right? That's just Shohei. Yes, there were moments where I was dazzled again, but it's boy who cries wolf a little bit. The game is different now than when we're comparing it to 1919, right? Again, the only time with Babe Ruth, right? Really feels like the only time there was truly a 2021 Shohei. The game is completely different, right? The media attention is completely different. I think also having a factor was us going back to the ballpark and seeing it in person felt amazing. It's just everything was different in 2021 as opposed to 100 plus years ago, right? So I think that we still need to digest this all before we know the full impact of his season. I think Shohei moving forward, right, the big question for him is going to be sustainability. We talked about it already. This is extremely difficult. And for Shohei to do this is what garnered him all these awards, right? The Commissioner's Award, the Silver Slugger, the MVP, and all, AP Sports Player, Athlete of the Year, and all these awards that came for Shohei, right? The question now, it's not talent anymore. We know he can, but how long can he keep this up, right? He's got all the talent in the world. Staying healthy is going to be number one. Can't have an impact if you're not on the field, right? The next thing for him has got to be creating a baseline level of expectation, because even he expressed, at the end of the season going, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that again. That was kind of ridiculous. And we saw him falter a little bit without protection in the lineup with the plate, right? So creating that baseline level expectation is going to be huge for Shohei as well. So we know what to expect, what numbers he has. And when you have that baseline level of expectation, knowing what numbers are good for you and the style of play that you have, that's when you know, okay, these are the numbers I need to stay at and I need to improve on. So getting only one season 2021 of Shohei at his true potential that we know, at least that we think we know, who knows, it could get better. It's not enough information for us as a fan base and as a sports fan base or sports viewers to really know what's next for him. If I had to look into a crystal ball, I don't think I just get clouds. I just get haze. I actually have no idea what to expect out of this guy in 2022, 2023, 2029. I have no idea, right? It's not like any case we have ever seen in the history of the game itself. So no one's done it as good. No one's done it as long. And at the level of competition that it was in 2021. What's that going to mean for the game down the road? We're going to have to learn. We're going to have to sit and watch and wait and see. But I mean, it's going to be one heck of a ride. I know that, so that much for sure. And I'm very excited to see where Shohei's career goes after this incredible season. The impact is there. We're going to see more guys try to do it. Maybe we see Alex Verdugo try to do it. Might see a couple of minor leaguers try. It's going to start trickling down. I'm very excited for the future of the sport, and I'm very excited for the future of Shohei Ohtani. Let me know how you feel about this here in our YouTube comment section. Comment down below. Of course, if you aren't watching on YouTube, you could always shoot us a tweet at Locked On Angels. I'm at Steve Granado. Call our voicemail line as well, 714-409-6396. Let me know how you feel about this. What's the ceiling for Shohei Ohtani? What is the future for Shohei Ohtani? Did Shohei Ohtani change the game forever? Let me know, 714-409-6396. I have other podcasts, a movie one and another baseball one. They're linked in the episode description. I want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us in today's episode of Locked On Angels. I hope you enjoy this style of video and episode, of course. If you did, give me a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. We're still trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by opening day. Thanks so much for checking us out. We'll talk to you next time. I'm Steve Granado. Later.